Welcome to another episode of Insights from the Trenches, a series dedicated to helping ADHD couples thrive by empowering couples with insights from ADHD experts and ADHD peers. I'm Alice, your host. In the last episode, we explored with Ari Tuckman how resentment can build in ADHD relationships. Today, we continue the conversation with him and focus on practical strategies for repairing resentment. So grab a cup of coffee and let's thrive together. Hi, Ari. Nice to see you today.
You as well.
Great. Well, thank you for coming on to this interview series. I know that in the past you've talked about earning free passes, and I've always called it a get out of jail card.
Yes,
How many can
exactly.
you collect? Can you share a little bit of more about it, just for people that are not familiar with the concept of, earning free passes or getting out of jail card, and how they should use it as a couple?
Yeah. So if we take this trash can example, I mean, we could pick anything, but if the person who's supposed to take out the trash generally is doing a pretty good job, right? Like mostly they're kind of getting it done. Preferably they're getting it done without anything needing to be said. And it's just sort of like not an issue. That's how you then earn some free passes, so that eventually, once in a while, like, whoops, didn't do it. It's easier for your partner at that point to say like, oh, wait, you're supposed to do the trash. What happened? And they go, crap. You know what? Sorry, I totally spaced on that, blah, blah, blah. And then your partner's like, all right, you know what? That's fine. Just make sure you get it out before next week. So that's what we're hoping for. Now, of course, the problem with ADHD is you use up your free passes too quick, right? You use them up the first 2 weeks, and now your partner's ready to go ballistic on week 3. So, that's the sort of for the ADHD partner side. Now, for the non-ADHD partner side, still same deal. Free passes still have to be earned. So if like most of you are being pretty good about, hey, honey, you said you would do this, what happened? That once in a while, when you sort of snap about it, the ADHD partner might have a bit better ability to say like, okay, having a bad day, not sure what the deal is. Like, okay, not doing the trash isn't helping, but like, I'm going to let this go. I'm not going to get defensive. I'm not going to make a fight of it. Right. So again, in both cases, there was some misbehavior on one person's part, but it was allowed to sort of slide by and not become the first step up the ladder into a big argument.
So that makes a lot of sense in terms of what a free pass is and how to use it. But one thing I do want to talk about is on the non-ADHD partner side, because I do see this from time to time, or actually more often than not, where the non-ADHD partner, because their trust was broken so many times because of the ADHD symptoms like forgetfulness and distraction, so they didn't get the task complete. These type of relapses causes the non-ADHD partner to kind of become, I call it a fake perfectionist, because now the ADHD partner needs to make it up by doing the task perfectly every single time. How do you get a non-ADHD partner to break that cycle? Because it's very hard, because they feel like if they do it perfectly every single time, that's how they can earn back the trust.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is definitely a thing, right? So, I mean, first of all, how happy you are about how something worked out partially depends on how it worked out. It also partially depends on what your expectations were. If you set the bar too high, you're probably going to be disappointed. So some of this then for the non-ADHD partner, right, there is also this aspect of like, why did you think that? Why did you think your partner would never again be late or something? Like that is an unreasonable proposition. So, some of it is that, but I think there's also an element of kind of back to what I said before about kind of, good intentions and hard work, that if in general it feels like your partner's putting in the effort, then it's much easier to be forgiving for about once in a while things aren't working out. If it's when your partner feels like you're half-assing it, and that's why it's because you don't care enough to work hard at it, man, are you in trouble with whatever the thing is that they assumed you didn't do. So if you can do the thing, but at a minimum, make sure your partner knows you're putting in effort and that you take it seriously and that their happiness is important to you.
Great. So basically making sure that whatever you're doing is important to your other partner, and then be able to articulate when you have done something. Make sure you tell your other partner so that they can actually, you can get a little bit of a gold star, I call it,
Yeah,
so that you can get
a little bit. Yeah. And I think I would also say, look for your partner's good effort, right? Because that's the kind of a thing also, because the technical term is positive attending, but like we totally notice the annoying things our partner does. We sometimes don't notice the good stuff because it's fine and it just like life moves on. So kind of looking for that good effort, and without making it a grand production of like, here I am putting the milk back, like you're expecting a parade or something, because that is annoying in its own way. But kind of showing your partner that you're taking it seriously and using your words to tell them that you are when your actions don't look like you are, right? Like, crap, I know I left the milk out, but I promise you, like, I really am like I get it. Like this, I understand why this matters. I really am trying to be better about it. So, kind of work with me here on this. And there's also an aspect there of like, don't promise what you can't deliver. So if your partner is like saying like, you have to do this, if you're like, I'm never going to pull that off, like it is way better to have the fight then than it is to have the fight later. Right. And by fight, what I mean is saying like, look, I'm not going to promise you that, not because I wouldn't love to be able to do it, but like, I don't think I can. And, my line here is, I don't want to set me up for failure and you up for disappointment. So we need to have a better discussion now about either how this is going to happen, what the expectations are, how else to set me up to be successful in the way that you want. But like this way that you're proposing, I just don't think it's going to work. So like, this is just trouble waiting.
Yeah. It's better now than try to, you tried it and then fail, and then you have to have a fight over it. So being able to set the proper expectations would be great. Or even just come together and talk about what that baby step is. If you can't do the whole thing, what is that baby step that needs to be done? Could actually be helpful. Great. If it's okay, would you mind giving some advice right now in this state where they realize, oh my God, I am really resentful and very angry at my partner? For the non-ADHD partner, what is that first step they could take today to help break down those resentment and anger? And then for the ADHD partner too.
I think I'm going to start with the same answer for both, which is this. Especially if ADHD, by which I mean the diagnosis, not the presence of it, is a bit of a newer thing, as in just recently was diagnosed, we're just beginning to figure this out. I think having a bit of compassion and forgiveness for both of you, right? And to look at it and say, obviously, I wish I knew then what I know now, right? That's easy, but you didn't. Neither of you did, right? And that generally, we kind of do the best we can with what we know. Not amazing, because like we all cut corners sometimes, or all a little bit lazy and a little bit selfish sometimes, but like, within like acceptable limits. Like we both sort of did what we could, right? If we had known other things, we would have done it differently, but you can't judge yourself by that standard, because you didn't know it. So now it's it's unfortunate and it's sad, and there's a ton of regret and a ton of like, I wish we had known, right? So there is sometimes a part of that new diagnosis is kind of mourning the past and mourning the past that wasn't. But to then sort of instead to sort of, or to sort of shift to, I can change what we didn't know before, but now we know it. So like you and me, let's really do something with this, right? That I really wish we had done this 10 years ago, but here we are now. What are we doing now? Because 10 years from now, I don't want to look back and say 10 years ago, we should have done this. Like, so sometimes really putting in that good effort now is the best way to kind of leave the past behind.
That makes sense. Make peace with the past.
Yeah.
That is important. Let's also focus a little bit of advice for the ADHD partner who feel that they're being attacked and blamed by their partner. What can they do starting today to show that they're really committed and wanting to repair their relationship?
Sure. Well, so first of all, probably that feeling of being attacked and blamed by their partner is because they are being attacked and blamed by their partner, right? So that's probably an accurate reading of what's going on here. So on the one hand, I think kind of empathizing with your partner of what this was like for them. They didn't understand this thing. You didn't understand it. It absolutely had an effect on them. Equally, it had an effect on you and their behavior, right? So I'm not saying one is more than the other, because it never is, but we each had an effect on each other. So to really sort of understand what that was. And I think an important part of letting go of resentment, especially over past behavior, is recognizing our own contribution to what happened. Right. Usually there's this thing of, you did this stuff to me, as if it's like a one directional. I was just standing here minding my own business and you did all this bad behavior at me. So, whereas the reality, of course, in relationships is it's always a two-way street. Everything happens with a ton of history behind it. So sure, your partner is still responsible for their actions. Absolutely they are. But also, there were things that you did, right? There are things that you did that were probably not helpful, or were not as helpful as they couldn't be, or were just downright unhelpful. And recognizing your own part of it, of like, I really wish I shouldn't have done that, or I wish I'd known I wouldn't have done this. The bad side of it, so to speak, is like, it feels bad to recognize like, ugh, I really did a bunch of bad, stupid things I wish I didn't do. But also that's where your power comes from today, right? Because if you blame your partner for everything you're unhappy about, you're basically crossing your fingers and hoping that they do it different tomorrow. To which I say, good luck, as opposed to, yeah, sure, my partner did a bunch of stuff I don't like, but also there are things I did that made it easier for them to do those things. And therefore, if I do some things differently, I can influence what they do next. And like that is actually the most satisfying place to be, because now you're not just sort of the victim of whatever your partner decides to do.
No, this makes total sense. I think communication is a two-way street. Two people are participating in it. Everybody has some responsibility. You cannot just assign it to another person and expecting that is all the problem in the world.
Yeah.
That makes total sense. Great. Thank you so much, Ari. Last question. If someone wants to work with you, how should they contact you?
So my books and podcast website or books and presenting website is adultadhdbook.com. My practice website is tuckmanpsych.com, and I've got contact forms on both. I do have a wait list, unfortunately. So, it can take a little bit to get in with me, but, if somebody's willing to wait, And if they're in a state I'm allowed to see people by video, then I'm very happy to put them on my list. And when I get to you, then away we go.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Ari. I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, happy to do it. I love talking about this stuff.